Breaking news. Severe autism doesn't exist. It's news to me. The diagnosis that my son received, which is on paper, non-existent, according to this person. See, this is reason number 5,423 why the spectrum needs to go away.
Hey special family, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I'm AutismMom. In today's fair use reaction video, we're going back to severe autism. A lot of people think severe autism doesn't exist. Now, some parents tend to differ, and here is the reason why the parents tend to differ. Here's a mom's reaction.
Breaking news. Severe autism doesn't exist. It's news to me. The diagnosis that my son received, which is on paper, non-existent, according to this person. See, this is reason number 5,423 why the spectrum needs to go away. The privilege, the absolute privilege this person has to be able to hop on social media, make their opinions known. My son doesn't have that privilege. And yet, he is under the same umbrella with this person. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Just use high support needs. I have never used that phrase for Gunnar. Why? Because it's been hijacked. Just like severe autism has been hijacked, so has high support needs. I can't tell you how many times level ones have come into my comments and said, I have days where I have high support needs. See, that's what the spectrum has allowed them to do, to fluctuate however they feel like it. One day it's low support needs, the next day it's high support needs. And when you confront them on it, they just say, it's a spectrum. So let me make something clear. What my son endures on a daily basis doesn't even compare to what a level 1 endures. It's not even in the same stratosphere. It's apples and oranges. So when you say you have high support needs, you are making light of what our profound autism kids go through on a daily basis, because they're going to need 24/7 care for life. They're not out there having jobs and careers and relationships and kids. And that is why the spectrum just no longer makes sense. So yes, severe autism does exist. Look, the spectrum has been really good to level ones. It's been great for them. Not so great for our kids. Somebody had to pay the price, and our kids are paying it. So, yes, I will continue to say severe autism, profound autism, if it pisses you off too bad. I will do it until those walls crumble down and we get a separate diagnosis.
Severe autism, often refers to as low-functioning autism, is a term used to describe profound impairments in communication, social interaction, and repetitive behaviors. Individuals with severe autism typically exhibit significant challenges in, first, expressing themselves verbally or non-verbally. Second, struggle with understanding social cues and forming relationships. Third, engage in repetitive and stereotypical behaviors. Fourth and last, they may also have intellectual disabilities and require extensive support for daily living activities.
Yeah, what do you think of the current label, specifically removing Asperger's syndrome from the DSM-5?
Well, I think it was a gigantic mistake from the standpoint of service providers. Gigantic, huge mistake. Because I'm a child that has no speech delay. Used to be autistic, you had to have speech delay. Asperger's is socially awkward with no speech delay. And that's now put in with people with a lot more challenges. You see, I've been thinking about it visually.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it verbally. I can understand why they did what they did, but it was a mistake. The kind of thing I don't see, and I remember going to a very fancy, brand new autism school, a lot of nonverbal kids there, both really young and a little bit older. And then there's a 10 or 12-year-old boy, fully verbal, just playing on, looking at bird websites on a laptop. You shouldn't have been there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see, now that's something, it's a specific example of something I absolutely don't want to see, because I'm seeing too many kids getting held back by the label. And the thing that's interesting, when you go out to the tech companies, they avoid the label. They know they have it, but they avoid the label. Because I see too many kids where autism's becoming their entire identity. No, for me, it was always, livestock editor for the Farm and Ranchman or scientist.
I guess parents are fed up with the whole it's a spectrum, because now they've taken everybody and placed them under one umbrella when they're kids who need way more help than that umbrella provides. But because the umbrella is up to a certain point, it can bring the wrong idea to what helps look like for the wrong child with autism. So a lot of people went into more details with why they disagree and why they think that severe autism or profound autism should have their own category or level 3. There are all kind of names floating around. I still don't know how to categorize them, but here are some reasonings behind these levels or severity of autism that they think is going on.
Did you know that level 3 autism and profound autism are not the same thing? Level 3 autism is an official category in the DSM-5 to describe autistic people who require the highest level of support. Level 3 autism, as described by the DSM-5, includes severe deficits and impairments in verbal and nonverbal communication, as well as severe restricted and repetitive behaviors to the point where it interferes in all areas of functioning, such as inflexible behaviors, difficulties coping with change in a way that overall causes difficulty and distress. Profound autism is a proposed category that involves a person having level 3 autism, a co-occurring intellectual disability with an IQ below 50, is non or minimally verbal, and requires 24/7 care. A lot of people tend to mix up these two categories and think they're exactly the same, but level 3 autism specifically refers to autism by itself, as opposed to profound autism, which is significantly more narrow and refers to co-occurring intellectual disabilities, as well as specific traits needing to be met in order to be considered profound.
What a lot of people don't realize is that there's actually 3 distinct levels when it comes to diagnosing autism, and it's not always so clear where the line is between each. Now, prior to 2013 in the DSM-4, they used to break it down into only 2 categories, which was autistic disorder and Asperger's disorder, which you may have heard of. Now, one of the reasons they changed it is that the researcher Hans Asperger's got retroactively canceled because, well, there may have been some ties with World War II Germany and some other sketchy stuff. Also, was to recognize that autism, more than many other disorders, including ADHD, is a much broader spectrum, so let's look at the levels. Level 1 is referred to as needing support, and this is where it would correlate with the old Asperger syndrome. This may be where individuals have noticeable difficulties with social communication, but can speak in full sentences, and very largely could interact like many others. However, they may still struggle with maintaining conversations, eye contact, or even maintaining friendships long term. Now, like anyone else with autism, they may still struggle with sensory overload and repetitive behaviors. And just like the description of Asperger's, these individuals tend to be highly intelligent with those very fixed interests. And often these individuals are not diagnosed till much later in life. They seem to be able to get by on their intellect, and others may just perceive them as socially awkward, nerdy, or otherwise. Now with level 2, the social impairment is much more restricted. These individuals may not have full conversations or speak in very simple sentences, and the conversations are often focused on those restricted interests. Often these individuals have difficulties with transitions, being flexible, or regulating their own emotions. And often a lot of these symptoms, including the repetitive behaviors, are going to be noticeable to the casual observer who may not know anything about autism. Then you have level 3, which is requiring substantial support. This is the most severe, where individuals have major difficulties with conversations. They may speak in very simplistic sentences or not speak whatsoever, known as nonverbal. Those repetitive physical movements are often constant and very extreme. Unfortunately, these individuals can struggle with severe emotional dysregulation that can often lead them hospitalized or long-term needing to be in group homes. Now, regardless of someone's level, the key is early diagnosis and intervention with things like applied behavioral analysis. These intensive therapies can be anything from 10 to 40 hours a week, depending on the individual's need. They work on everything from communication, skill building, social skills through behavior modification. So, what do you think of the levels and what's your experience?
Person with full-blown autism. I've seen many people with Asperger's and, on the spectrum over my age. I've never seen anybody with full-blown autism. That means nonverbal, non-toilet trained, etc. You don't see these people walking around a mall because they don't exist in our age. Or they're very, very rare. They do exist, but they're rare, so rare that I've never seen one. And I've been around intellectual disabilities my entire life. But in our children's age group, they're everywhere.
I want to make something very clear. RFK Jr. keeps talking about full-blown autism, and that's not actually a thing. He also talks about Asperger's syndrome, which does not exist anymore. Since the DSM-5 came out in 2013, it's now called autism spectrum disorder because people's conditions lie along a spectrum with variable presentations and variable amounts of support that's needed. He also conflates intellectual disability with autism spectrum disorder, and they are not the same thing, although some people may have overlapping issues. So his thought process is very much aligned with what happened in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, and he keeps talking about how he doesn't see people who are older walking around in the mall. Keep in mind that many of these people are not alive anymore at this point, or they were underdiagnosed, or they were placed in institutions where people wouldn't visibly see those who needed extra support. And nowadays we try to give that extra support to people who need it, and we need to be living in a more inclusive, loving, and respectful society, which this type of rhetoric is not helpful.
Parents of autistic children frequently suspect deafness in the early years and initially seek advice about this. Characteristically, these children respond selectively to sounds. Tom's hearing is normal, but he ignores the bell.
Oh, we can play on the big bass drum, and this is the way we do it.
Yet see how responsive he is to music.
And this is the way we do it. Oh, we can play on the...
Because normal socialization does not occur, the autistic child doesn't learn about living hazards. This light socket has in fact been disconnected, but Adam will put his finger into any available outlet. Surprisingly, these children rarely come to harm. It is parents and other adults who suffer anxiety because of their child's exploits. For years, Stephen has only eaten tinned chicken dinner, ice cream, and lemonade. Efforts are being made here to change his abnormal diet, but he would rather go without than even try the strange new food. The child's resistance is to variety in his routine. That is, anything immediately affecting his person. Stephen only uses squeals, which indicate anger or displeasure, but he communicates very effectively with gesture, as here with his mother and normal children.
Good girl. Right? You got up the girl. Okay.
The child may wake and play for hours in the night, yet be full of energy the next day. His mother will often describe him as always on the go, constantly engaged in restless, diffuse action. Ted would run like this for hours on end, even if there were other people all around him.
Okay, I hope this video was helpful. Let me know in the comment section below if I missed anything or need to correct anything. And I'll catch you in the comment section and see you in the next one. Bye!